Hello, welcome to Stevensville, Maryland. I'm Jim Casper, and we are down here getting ready for Memorial Day weekend. For us combat veterans, families and friends of the fallen, this is a very special weekend. This weekend we get to bring our buddies back out into the sunshine and, in their honor, tell their stories. So please stick around. I'd like to share a few short stories with you that I think you'll find interesting. Every year since 1980, I've been putting out a memorial down by the road in front of my house. And it reads, in honor to those young men who died in our 9-man squad of the 1st Platoon, Company C, 1st Battalion of the 8th Regiment, U.S. Army's 1st Cavalry Division in Vietnam. My first fallen was Robert Mullins of Lebanon, Ohio, July 1968. In the Ashaw Valley area near Laos. Mullins, he was a newlywed. He just got married about a month before he deployed to Vietnam. In this picture, 2 squads of us were on a day patrol from a little mountain fire base called LZN. My mother had sent me a 104 Kodak camera the day before, and this was the first picture. Sorry, it's a picture of me. I don't have one of Mullins. He took the picture, and we did look an awful lot alike. About 20 minutes after this picture, we were going up a steep, well-used enemy trail. I was looking up, and in front of me was 2 guys from Texas. Then Mullins, who was stopped at the top. He was looking in the jungles to his left. Then he stepped in. 15 seconds later, there was a huge explosion. No doubt a 155 shell that he either tripped or the enemy hand detonated on him. Mullins and the 2 Texans were down. All 3 were missing multiple limbs. Mullins died fast. 4 guys frantically worked on the 2 Texans while the rest of us fanned out to the security area. A helicopter came in and took the Texans to the hospital ship. They survived, but they wouldn't take Mullins' body. So another soldier and me wrapped Mullins up in my poncho, and we took turns carrying Mullins back to the fire base inn. It was less than 3 miles away. From there, Mullins started his journey back to Ohio to a soon-to-be broken-hearted new bride. Still saddens me to think about that today. The next fallen was William Westlake of Lynn, Indiana. He died late September 1968. On a place the French named the Street of No Joy, a north-south dirt road that goes by the ancient city of Way. Old Westlake was real happy this morning. We had gotten a radio call from the rear telling him that his wife had a baby boy, and both were doing fine. He had been worrying a lot. Now, he didn't know the name of his new son because he and his wife picked 2 names for a boy, 2 names for a girl. She was going to make this decision at birth. In this picture, we were going to ground assault an unknown sized enemy force now trapped in a village. The enemy had let the villagers come out, but they were going to make a stand. 5 minutes after this picture, with a half a dozen armored vehicles leaving from the 5th Armored Division, our platoon started moving forward. Small arms firing rockets started coming out of the village. A rocket landed next to Westlake and me. Westlake went down, and I immediately grabbed him by the arm and started dragging him back, trying to get him out of rocket range. Then 2 armored vehicles came out of nowhere and stopped in front of us, blocking the small arm fire. The back of the hatch flipped open. 2 medics came out. As they were working on Westlake handed me his Timex Luminous Dial watch. He knew I didn't have one, and I needed one for our night watch. When I looked at it, I noticed the band was broken, and a piece of shrapnel had went clean through the face of the watch. He started laughing in pain, then said, "Casper, I'm going home and see my new son, and your butt's going back to the boonies." And then he started laughing. Well, I didn't throw it away, because I figured the next time I see him, I'd give him that killed in action watch back and then cuss him out, and then we'd start laughing. Then I ran across the opening and caught up with my platoon. They had just broken into the village, and it was getting loud. That night we got a radio call from the rear. The hospital ship said, "Westlake will recover, but won't be returning to combat. Well, that was good news. One of us escaped. Then about a week later, a small group of us was getting ready to head out on a night ambush. A very late radio call come in from the rear. The hospital ship said they had thought they found everything, but after 2 days his vital signs still weren't stabilizing. So they rechecked his body and found a piece of shrapnel in his liver that they had missed. They desperately tried to save him but couldn't. As we headed out of the company night position, we couldn't help to think about Westlake and that new mother and widowed bride. I bought that broken watch home, but I don't know why. Robert Tomlinson of San Diego, California is my next fallen. He died early October 1968 near the demilitarized zone right outside our base camp of LZ Sharon. My man Tomlinson, he was an easygoing guy from California, but unlike most guys who carried a picture of their wives, girlfriends, and families, Tomlinson had a picture of his 1964 Cadillac Coupe de Ville convertible. Oh, he loved that car. He was my assistant gunner and good friend. We always talked about when we'd get out of the Army and get together. We focused on the summer of 1970. He said he'd drive me around California coast where I would see the prettiest girls in the world. Now, I always thought that the girls in my neighborhood around St. Benedict's Parish were mighty fine looking. So this I had to see. In this picture, we were outside of our rear base camp, LZ Sharon. We were waiting for the helicopters for an air assault. Now, we didn't know where to, but infantrymen are the first to go and last to know anyhow. About 2 weeks after this picture, on that early October morning, there was a mix-up in the rear, and Tomlinson got on a different helicopter. Now, we had always flown together, air assault, patrols, rotation, or whatever, but not this morning. His helicopter lifted off and turned right into a path of a small incoming troop carrying plane. The airplane had some patched up wounded guys and some returning R&R guys. All 33 in both aircrafts were killed, including Tomlinson, and our mission just continued on. My next fallen was with Jim Dollard of Hemingway, South Carolina. Mid-March 1969, about 5 miles south of the Black Virgin Mountain in the Tainan province. I remember when we all met and were introducing ourselves, we couldn't help to notice Dollard had a very bad stuttering problem. After a few weeks together, he got used to us, and the stuttering was down to a skip every 2 or 3 sentences. Him and I talked some, mainly when we'd be on guard together. He told me he joined the Army at 17. He had the understanding he could get medical help for his sick mother, but so far that wasn't working out too good. In this picture, it's the same area where Dollard dies. We had just air assaulted in, and for whatever reason, we didn't go right into the jungles, but was held out in the open. Now, they didn't tell us why, and we didn't ask. About a month or so before his last day, we got a radio call from the rear. It said the Red Cross wants Dollard given 10 days emergency leave and sent home to bury his mother. She died of sickle cell anemia, age 39. He came back about 10 days later and didn't want to talk about it. We understood. The night before his final day, it had just gotten dark. He got some movement in front of his foxhole. Him and another guy in the platoon, Private First Class Bledsoe of East Bernstein, Kentucky, got in their foxhole. Next, there was an explosion, most likely a hand grenade landing in there with them. Bledsoe was dead, and Dollar was badly injured. The radio call from the rear said they wouldn't send the dust off until daylight. The area was too dangerous. Well, he hung in there best he could, but about an hour before daylight, 18-year-old Dollar joined his mother. All right, the last is Jim Brown of New York City, New York. Died mid-April 1969 in the Paris Peak area. near the Cambodian border in the Tay Ninh province. I still remember meeting Jim Brown, and when all of us were introducing ourselves and saying where we were from, Brown said he was from New York City. All of a sudden there was a silent pause. I guess we were expecting someone loud, maybe rude, and I apologize, New York. We were young and dumb, and that was an infantry requirement. Okay, back to Brown. Jim Brown, he was a Bronx native, and he was very quiet. If he did complain, he'd make a joke out of it, and they were usually pretty funny. In this late December 1968 picture, we were headed toward the Van Kodong River to hook up with the Navy river boats to do some search and destroys, river assaults, or whatever they want. You see, Brown has a patch on his head. He busted it open on a low doorway jam of an enemy bunker. He loved being first in. He always was looking for souvenirs. In this picture, that's a North Vietnamese soldier's backpack he's wearing. Also, the hat come off another enemy soldier. Neither one of them needed it anymore. His final April Day picture, the platoon walked into an ambush. The point man and the guy behind him were down out in the open. Machine gunner Jim Brown quickly ran up, and his team following behind. His job was to draw the enemy fire away from the wounded and quickly get fire superiority. It wasn't his first rodeo. He's done this at least a half a dozen times before. Running toward the opening, the bush was unusually thin, and so was the foliage, and the enemy saw him coming. They zeroed in and hit him multiple times. At least 4 bullets hit him in his chest alone. His assistant gunner, Bob LaCoya of Rollston, Massachusetts, took over the machine gun and quickly got fire superiority. While waiting for the dust-off helicopter, Bob LaCoya was holding Brown's hand. Brown tried to say something, but nobody could make it out. Then, with his eyes wide open and a huge smile on his face, he died. Some of the guys believe that people that die like that have been given a glance of their place for all eternity and are happy. I sure hope so. Well, I guess if anybody's still sticking around, I want to thank the one or two of you. I thought it was a little lengthy, but I didn't want to shortchange my buddies any. And also I want to thank Norman Schmidt and his high school son, Derek Schmidt, for filming this and somehow putting it on the computer and internet there. And I also would like to ask you to take a few seconds and silently or loudly toast your drink to the fallen. You know they deserve that. Plus, it'll make your drink taste better. So you know I'll be doing my share of toasting. So let's all keep praying, enjoy what we have, and carry on. Casper out.